Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host for today's broadcast, Insane Layer 13, as we are preparing to get underway for the fourth race of the Porsche Cup season here for X League. We've had a 1-week break period, and in time it has been revealed that one of the reasons we were not able to update point standings at all for you guys throughout the first 3 races of the series was because no points were actually awarded over the first 3 races of the season. Apparently, the decision was, in an attempt to try and help with attendance numbers, no points would be given for the first 3 races in the Porsche Cup Series, just because the attendance numbers were so low. They didn't want to give any 1 or 2 drivers such a obscene advantage that would drive people away. We'll see if that works out. We are looking to have a relatively large field for today's event, with several brand new names coming in. Also, we want to give a shout out to XR Monaco and Wiza4 for reaching out and doing pace car duties. So technically we are going to be here with a completely green and clean points day with nobody already having any points. Other things to take a note of. Once again, this is now the 4th Porsche Cup race in a row that Maze has done this, but Maze has missed qualifying and practice completely. He will be starting dead last in a field of what looks to be 14 cars tonight. He has been the only driver thus far who has at least led a single lap in all Porsche Cup and GT3 Pro races in the first 3 weeks of X League. This would be his 7th event in a row of being able to pull it off, if he can pull it off. But the field in this Porsche Cup race tonight is much, much larger than what he has been used to. Typically, he does deal with these larger fields in the GT3 races, but he also usually qualifies in those GT3 races. So he's going to have to try and make his way up from what will be 14th on the grid into the lead if he wants to continue that streak at the top of the grid. NDL Violet reached out and brought several of their friends and acquaintances into this event tonight. That is where a lot of these new names have come from. But one interesting name that is absent is Lil Kid Suave. After his antics, I'll just use the term antics on the track, 2 weeks ago at Sebring, both in the Porsche Cup and the GT3 Pro race, it was decided by the officials that for the first time ever in X League's history, there was going to be a driver suspension for an entire weekend. So Lil Kid Suave is not allowed to run in either tonight's Porsche Cup race or tomorrow night's GT3 Pro race. Now, the good news for Suave is that there are no points on stake for the first 3 races of the season, so he's not terribly out of the Porsche Cup Championship. He still has a shot at defending his Porsche Cup Championship crown. The bad news, though, is that he is going to be well in the hole because he'll only have 6 races left in the season to make up a championship. Because, again, we still have 7 races total, including tonight 6 after this is over. Suave will have to put together some fantastic performances. I'm not sure if he's going to have the ability to do that if he wants to make that championship defense known, but that is something to take note of. But at the front of the field, it is Dex Twilight who's going to be starting on pole in tonight's Porsche Cup event. And we'll get you a rundown shortly here once the cars start rolling on the grid. Here we are. So yeah, Dex Twilight here is going to be starting in pole position, followed by NDL Twilight. After that will be Manuel Pedro, will be starting 3rd. 4th place starter will be Wicked Ant, and then 5th place will be Les Aguera in that Hertz machine. Then you'll have Cars Matthew and Breezy Rain. Real quickly, take a look at their cars. Cars Matthew here in the 67 Milwaukee. Breezy Rain, the number 4 Silver, Black, and Orange machine. After that, in 8th will be Tempered Ship, 142, followed by Savage, 6647, and another one of those Black, Orange, and Silver machines. After that will be a newcomer, RXNN Dog, followed by Master Drift, 4239. Following them will be Keflex, 500 MG. Keflex attempted to qualify, but lagged out on their 2nd lap, so they will be starting near the rear of the grid, as will Homemender, who had similar issues, although I do think he was running at the end of it. He had similar issues trying to get qualifying all the way in. He is in that Oreo-sponsored number 91, and as we already talked about, the number 91 of Maze missed qualifying, missed practice. He has led at least 1 lap in every race in X League thus far this season. but he is going to have to figure out a way to pass 13 other cars if he wants to lead a lap, let alone get a good result in today's event. And once again, we want to give a quick shout out thanks to Wiza4 for doing pace car duties for tonight's affair. As the field now comes down into the final chicane, we'll see them start doubling up momentarily here. Twilight is going to be on the inside. Violet is going to be on the outside. Pedro and Wicked Ant will be rounding out row 2. It'll be a 44-lap race. It'll be interesting to keep an eye on tire wear. Also, race links have been changed a little bit for Porsche Cup and GT3 Pro. We'll talk a little bit more about that later as the field has just about all doubled up. Everyone's nice and packed on top of each other. Green flag, and we are underway here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway's Grand Prix circuit, and the 75 immediately gets the car most of the way in front as they're coming down to the braking zone, but they are already 3 wide farther back in the braking zone in the middle of the field, diving into the corner, big contact, and that is Pedro, who is spinning around wildly. He has hit at least 3, maybe 4 different cars in the process, and that fantastic qualifying run that Pedro has is completely gone, but someone else who has already made up a bunch of positions, Mays, is already up into 7th position. He's a little bit slow there coming out of turn number 4, but already Mays up from 14th to 8th in just less than half of a lap after avoiding early race chaos. Mays is already making a name for himself, but it is Twilight and Violet at the front. Violet dives to the inside, but Twilight's going to wrap it around the outside. Side by side between the two of them, the 75 will go deep into the S's. The 120 is a little bit more conservative. That means the 75 will be nice and clear. It is Cars Matthew in that purple and gold Porsche that is right behind them. 1, 2, 3, all basically nose to tail now as they come out of Speedway Turn 2 through this little short chute, and then this slight downhill right-hander. Very, very difficult corner to make happen, but it looks like Twilight has held in the lead over Indio Violet with Cars Matthews trying to get alongside Violet. Now they come out of that final chicane through the very last corner, and this is going to be where you'll see everyone hit their highest speeds down the front straightaway with maximum draft. This is one of the longest straightaways on the schedule. Violet has the draft on Twilight. Matthews has the draft off of both of them. Nose to tail for a top 3 right now as they dive down into turn number 1. The 120 goes in just enough to touch the 75 in the rear, but not enough to really upset him. They still stay all nose to tail, but the 75 hit the dirt there in turn number 3. And now coming down to turn number 4, the 75 tries to defend. The 120 can't really do anything about it because Matthews is right there, and Wicked Ant is not too far behind as well. And it looks like Twilight did not have a very wide exit through the chicane. He went very defensive, defending the right-hand side. But here comes Violet. He's going to dive deep, going into the braking zone at the end of the infield backstretch chicane. And Twilight just crosses him right over on exit, and that leaves Violet up to attack from Cars Matthews. Again, big contact between the two of them. Violet misses the next few corners, and now Twilight gets to scoot out just a little bit. Now Violet is still within 0.4 of a second. He'll still have the draft, can still make something happen here. And Car Matthews watching this gotta be feeling frustrated, but now it is not just the top 3, it is the top 5, all basically within a second and a half of each other. Tempered Chip in 5th is right there, and credit where credit is due, despite having that spin and hitting at least 3 cars on the initial start in turns 1, 2, and 3, Manuel Pedro has already worked his way back up into 6th position, and just behind him is Mays. So Mays has already cleared half of the cars he needs to clear, as there's some action going on farther back there between Aguera and Breezy Rain. Aguera, they're on the inside. That is Breezy Rain trying to wrap it around the outside. There is somebody spinning. Was that Violet spinning out of control? It was! Violet has spun out of the podium positions, completely out the circuit there in turn number 1. He'll have to cut back through the dirt to get back onto the circuit, and Violet goes from 2nd all the way down to 12th, might even fall to 13th or 14th. Chaos here, and in the process, Cars Matthew has gotten ahead of Dex Twilight. Now Twilight's under threat from Tempered Ship. Ship looks to the inside of Twilight. Twilight on the outside has nothing to do, he just didn't have a very good run through there. The 91's almost completes the overtake, but the 75 is still there, side by side to the S's. You don't want to be side by side to the S's under any circumstances. A little bit of contact, the 75 crosses in front of the number 91, but that's going to let Cars Matthew opens up a fantastic lead. Regrettably, we missed what happened at the front of the field, so we're looking at action farther back. The Cars Matthew has gone to the front of the field and is now scooting away from Dex Twilight and Tempered Ship. Manuel Pedro in 4th, Wicked and 5th. Mays is making a pit stop here. No damage on the car. Well, there's a little bit of engine damage, but there's no other damage in the car as far as we can tell. And the safety car is out, and we have a caution. Breezy Rain is pitting, Rixendog is pitting, Keflex is pitting, and Indio Violet is pitting as well. Did Violet take damage in something that we missed? Oh, the rear of that car is absolutely destroyed, so he's hit something. So from my end, it looked like he just had a wild spin all on his own, but no, apparently we are under a yellow flag after what appears to be an incident in turn 1 and 2 on just the third racing lap. And this kind of semi-randomizes the field. Car Matthews now at the head of the grid with Dex Twilight second, Tempered Ship third, Manuel Pedro fourth, Wicked Ant fifth. Les Aguirre has filtered his way up to sixth. Savage is up to seventh. Homelander to eighth. Master Drift to ninth. He is going to be the lowest of all the cars who have not yet pitted. We're going to go ahead and take a Twitch mandated ad break, and when we come back, we'll figure out exactly what the running order will be as they come to the green flag here at the IMS Road Course. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Indianapolis Motor Speedway here. I'm your host for today's broadcast, and same year 13. Indio Violet and Keflex at the rear of the grid are just about to catch the back of the grid, so we should have the ability to go green coming up this lap. No one else pitted under the yellow flag of our top five. We believe that Car Matthews in first and Manuel Pedro in fourth are both on soft tire compounds. We believe that Dex Twilight in second, Tempered Ship in third, and Wicked Ant in fifth are all on the medium tire compound. We do not believe anyone near the front of the grid is running on the hard compound tires. Again, interesting thing to note is that the drivers 10th through 14th, they all elected to put on new tires. In the case of Violet, he had damage, so it was kind of a requirement. But we believe that everyone from 10th to 14th has nice brand new tires, and they'll be able to make some wild hay as we come down to the green flag. We think it should be this time, and Breezy Rain now pulls off from the rear of the grid. We may be spending another lap under the yellow this time. Yeah, the pace car is not pulling off, so we are going to spend another lap under yellow. So Breezy Rain at the rear of the grid is going to get an even fresher tires. His tires are going to have about another 2 laps less wear on them now compared to the other drivers around. Now, granted, they are 2 yellow flag laps, not green flag laps, so you're not really putting a lot of wear and tear on the tires on the yellow flag laps, but it does still add up. Now, something else I do want to talk about, it was discussed about 2 weeks ago before the Sebring event about altering the race lengths for both the Porsche Cup and GT3 Pro events, just so that way the tire strategies between them wouldn't be so similar. The decision that I heard getting made, although it has been room for it to be changed, but the decision I heard getting made was taking about a lap or 2 off of the Porsche Cup race lengths and adding a lap or 2 to the length of the GT3 Pro race lengths. Now, I do not know if that is applying this week or if that is going to apply next week, but if that applies, that coupled with the fact that the Porsche Cup cars usually have a bit more downforce and a lot less power, and the fact that the tire wear multiplier is usually a little bit higher in the GT3 Pro events, I think you will be in a position where the Porsche Cup races will no longer give drivers an automatic strategy windfall on knowing what to do for the GT3 Pro races. So that is going to be something that will very significantly distinctify the Friday night Porsche Cup races and the Saturday night GT3 Pro races apart from each other here. So that is something we'll want to keep in mind on. Again, I don't know if that's going to be starting this weekend or if that's going to be starting next weekend. But in either case, that may be something to keep an eye on going forward, as now they go by the pit road entrance again. Pace car pulls off. So it's going to be Cars Matthews leading Dex Twilight and Tempered Chip. We believe that Matthews has softer tires, but they have a lot more wear on them. They come out of the final corner. He has to get away, run away, and open up a nice big gap and hope he doesn't hit traffic when he pits. Green flag, and we are back on the way here at Indianapolis. I want to keep an eye on Manuel Pedro in fourth because he is another driver we believe is on the softer compound tire. Twilight and Tempered Chip, nose to tail as they come down to the braking zone. Big lunge back there from Aguirre. Was that Aguirre? It looked like Aguirre, and there's the 99 bouncing into Savage there. Savage falls down a bit, and look at Mays already. Even though there was a little less chaos, Mays is already up to 6, and Manuel Pedro up to 3rd already. Master Drift is sliding backwards to the grid. He gets knocked off circuit in the chicane, goes through the dirt, big time sliding the dirt. And that may end up really hurting him later because remember, in this series, penalties that are given by the game are final. X-League does not allow for any opportunity to remove penalties. We'll look at time penalties a little later in the event, but if he ended up getting a massive amount of time penalty from that cut, even though he was turned off circuit, that could be something that could be absolutely destructive to his event. But Manuel Pedro is in second. He has gone from 4th to 2nd in just a little less than a lap, and now is running down Cars Matthews here for the lead. Twilight is 3rd, Aguirre is 4th, Tempered Chip is 5th, and Mays, after pitting under the yellow flag, is already up to 6th. This guy might legitimately be able to lead laps again tonight. He has been on something else this entire season, working some incredibly wild strategy calls and constantly finds himself leading these races time and time again. He goes in deep, hits the number 90, the green and black 91 Tempered Chip from behind, as Mays trying to close in on the drivers ahead and figure out a way to effectively make overtakes up front. Manuel Pedro in 2nd, running behind Cars Matthews. Dex Twilight is kind of broken away into a no man's land as Aguirre is trying to keep away from Tempered Chip and Mays right now. If I look at Pedro, he is not close enough to make big moves on Matthews, and it looks like Aguirre is just close enough. They caught the draft off the rear of this 75 down the infield back straightaway. So Aguirre is going to be a bit closer to Twilight than Twilight really wants. A Maze is already cleared Tempered Chip by the looks of it. And that is Pedro! That's the 2nd time today Pedro has had a spin. No damage, but for the 2nd time today, Pedro gets into the podium positions and has a spin. He has fallen down to 12th position. And Mays has just cleared Aguirre as well. Mays is all of a sudden up into the 3rd spot. He might lead laps, not necessarily off strategy, but just off of speed and tire life right now. He's only at 26% wear on his tires right now. I look at Car Matthews, who we believe is on softs. He's at 46% wear in the rears. And then I look at Dex Twilight, who's hanging out in the 2nd position, who's just about to be overtaken by Mays. Twilight, we believe, has engine damage. Twilight has engine damage, apparently. 8% engine damage for Dex Twilight. That could end up being absolutely catastrophic for him. They're going to lose an insane amount of time in the process. And Mays has caught them as now harassing Twilight as they go through the backstretch chicane. And now Twilight has to defend the right-hand side. Mays pops down to the left-hand side. That gives him the insides that come down. Look at that. Yeah, that is definitely engine damage. And that black number 75 Porsche, Mays has gone from 16th to 6th to 10th to 2nd in the span of 9 racing laps. Well, technically 9 laps. 10 laps if you count pace lap. And reminder, some of those laps were ran under yellow as well. Mays is on something today. But right now, your leader is Carl Matthews on a strategy that's start on the soft tires and not pit at the start of the race. But with Mays having engine damage, and then Manuel Pedro spinning, I think Aguirre may be the highest poised of everyone. Oh, Mays missed the corner. Mays missed the corner into the chicane, and that let Twilight sneak right back by. Mays runs a little bit wide as they come out of the final corner, but Mays will have the draft and no engine damage, so he should be able to get right by Twilight with no issue whatsoever here. Side by side between Twilight and Mays. Carl Matthews trying to pull away. I think he may have about a 2-second lead over this fight for second, but Mays, he may be fast, but he seems to be a little bit mistake prone potentially. If he wants a shot at winning this race, he needs to make something happen. That's Aguirre! Aguirre go for the gigantic dive bomb on Twilight and muscles Twilight offline there. And Aguirre goes up into what is now third position. So they are now going to be the highest of, well, fourth positions. They fall back in line behind Twilight. Is there damage? No engine damage, but he falls back in line behind Twilight. Maybe he said, hey, that was no brainer. I'm not accepting that. You go have that position back. I'll make it legitimately. But the thing is that in the process of those two doing that, it's brought Tempered Ship back into the fray as well. There's also NDL Violet there, who was the epicenter of the incident that brought out our last yellow. He has recovered up into the 6th position right now. But the main focus is here. It is for third, Twilight, Aguirre, and now Tempered Ship right in the middle of it as well. Through and coming out of the final chicane, here comes your leader, Carl Matthews, and this will give you an idea what his gap is to Mays at the moment. It's about 3 seconds, and look at that glut of cars right there, all fighting over third spot. Twilight has a damaged engine. Here comes Aguirre to the inside. This should be an easy overtake just with the straight line speed alone. It's Tempered Ship that makes it interesting. He goes nice and deep. He's going to force Twilight to keep it side by side with him through turns 1 and 2 and 3. Now into turn 4, they're still going to be side by side. And Tempered Ship will finally, well, no, he's not clearing him yet. And as a big liftoff moment, there is Violet. Violet is in the middle of this. Breezy Rain is in the middle of this all of a sudden. Tempered Ship finally is by Twilight. Violet's by Twilight. Rain is by Twilight. So everyone now gets by Twilight. And Dex Twilight plummets back to 7th spot on the grid now. But this fight is still on. Les Aguirre has broken away from Tempered Ship, but Ship is now under threat from Violet. And just behind him is Breezy Rain. Up the inside, there goes Violet. That will be an easy overtake. Carl Matthews is going to pit out of the lead. As long as Mays doesn't botch this, this will be the 7th straight event that Mays is going to lead a lap in. That is Wicked Amp pitting, Manuel Pedro pitting, Twilight's pitting. Finally get that engine damage recovered. Ship ran wide there after contact with Violet, and Violet clears them. So Violet now up into the 3rd spot after he brought out the initial yellow flag. But I look at Violet's tires right now, he is at 30% wear, so he's put on a harder compound tire. I look at Mays, who is leading right now. He's got 46% wear. He is on a softer compound tire and will likely have to pit sooner rather than later. Les Aguirre runs in the 2nd spot. He has 49.9, 50% tire wear. So Aguirre is going to be pitting around the same time that Mays does. Violet, I think, is going to be in the overall catbird seat potentially if he could just avoid a repeat of the spin and accident that he had earlier. Of course, Dex Twilight is still going to be someone to keep an eye on. They lost ground, but now they are going to be a little bit faster with a repaired engine. And if they run enough laps in clean air, they could really make some hay against the likes of Mays, Aguirre, and Violet. That's not who I wanted to look at. This is Breezy Rain, who is now in 4th position, running just behind Violet. And Violet has caught Les Aguirre. Mind you, Aguirre and Mays are on older soft compound tires now. So they pitted about lap 6. So it looks like the soft tires can only go about 7 laps or so, which would insinuate that the mediums can probably go about 10 to 11 laps tonight. So Violet's going to be out here for a little bit on this compound of tire. Side by side, Aguirre and Violet. Aguirre goes deep into turn 1 to try and block all lanes at once. And that worked against Violet, but that is Breezy Rain. Breezy Rain says, I'll go for something wild. It didn't work. But that really goes to show he is not afraid to cut it up with these drivers. Are they going to be 3 wide out of the chicane this time? Oh, they're almost 3 wide out of the chicane. Not quite, though. Rain still stays right behind the 120 and the 911. He's got to drop, but he has nowhere to go with it. Pulls up behind the 911, gives him a bit of a shove into the braking zone at the end of the back straightaway. Still side by side between Violet and Agera. Oh, and they're 3 wide the S's. That's not how you want it to work. And they're 3 wide the S's ever so briefly. And suddenly Violet goes into second, and that is Tempered Ship, who's now in third. Tempered Ship got right by all of them. Breezy Rain goes to fourth, and Agera flies backwards to 5th position now. We do apologize for the ticker not properly functioning tonight. I will have a conversation with the officials there because I think I know what's causing it to bug out like that. But Les Agera runs in 5th spot and then pits out of that lead group. But Maze is going to stay out here 1 lap longer on these softer compound tires with 30 laps left in the event roughly at the end of this lap. So this could be an interesting run to the end. Violet is in second, and it looks like they've broken away from this duo of Breezy Rain and Tempered Ship. The 91 and the 4 continue to go back and forth at it here. Through turns 1, through turns 2, through turns 3, and the number 4 Porsche wraps it around the outside, really secures his podium spot out of turn number 4. This has definitely been one of the more chaotic events I think we've ever seen here at Indy. Then again, last year, I didn't get to cover the Porsche Cup race, but the GT3 Pro race here last year was incredibly chaotic. I believe they had 4 yellow flags over the course of the race, 2 of them in the last 10 laps. So there's still plenty of time for other chaos to happen here. Speaking of which, there is other action going on a little bit farther down. This here is 5th place, 6th place, and 7th place. Keflex, Savage, and RX and Dog. Maze is pitting at the end of lap 15. So he is pitting with 30 laps left. I'll be very interested to see what his tire strategy is going to be to the end of this race. Because if the soft tires can only go about 7 or 8 laps, the medium tires can probably do about 11 laps or so. Maze is in an interesting position. Is he going to try and make it on 2 more stops, medium, medium, soft, or is he going to try and go medium, medium, medium? If he tries to run softs late, that could give him a tire advantage late, but if he tries to run mediums all the way through, he won't have to worry about tire fall off at all. Homelander also went ahead and jumped in the pits that time by. NDL Violet is leading right now over Breezy Rain, who has finally pulled away from Tempered Ship. Keflex, who had a lag out in qualifying, is up in the 4th spot. Savage runs in 5th, and RX In Dog is 6th. And Maze is coming out of pit lane right now. I think he's going to come out in about the 8th or 9th position, depending on where he ends up being in relation to Dex Twilight. Twilight cuts right in front of Maze. So Twilight, despite having that engine damage, has gone ahead and really made use. I think Twilight may have jumped onto the soft compound tires to try and just maximize some lap time because they are way ahead of Maze, but also have a lot of tire wear right now. So I'll be very interested to see how long they're willing to stay out here. But I look at NDL Violet, who we believe are on the medium compound tires, 45% wear right now. 2nd place is Breezy Rain. His most worn tire is 60%. He'll have to come. The fact that he's not pitting this lap alone really shocks me because Breezy Rain is going to be hemorrhaging time now to Tempered Ship, who is in 3rd, but Ship also has 61% wear on his tire, so Breezy Rain and Tempered Ship are going to be hemorrhaging time. 4th place is Keflex right now, 46%. So right now, Keflex, I think, is poised to be the fastest of our top 4 drivers on track. Then you have Savage here in 5th position. He's at 60% tires. He may not even make it around with how little fuel he has in the tank. He's only got 3% left in the fuel tank right now. So, is Savage going to be able to make it around and back into the pit lane? There's 10% in the fuel tank for Breezy Rain. There's no worry about fuel for him. For Tempered Ship, 17%. If anything, he's overfilled. But Savage, who is running 5th right now, may legitimately have a problem. He might not have the fuel to get to the end. He also has engine damage. He has 10% engine damage. So he has a good position on the racetrack right now. But the combination of engine damage and low fuel means that he's going to be hemorrhaging time on track, hemorrhaging time in pit road, and he may still run out of fuel before he makes it into the pits. When the pit stop cycle is done, Savage is going to be out of the top 10 positions for sure. Dex Twilight runs in the 7th position right now. Now that they have cleared up the damage in their engine, they are in clean air. They have peeled away from Maze, are just focusing on maximizing their lap time right now. The next car ahead of him is Car Matthews, who had been just ahead of Twilight before he made stops as well. He is at 27% wear on his tires. A look at Twilight, who is running in 7th behind Matthews. They're at 29% wear right now. So Twilight is bringing down the Nicotina more, trying to catch Matthews. Tempered, Ship, and Savage both elect to pit that time by. So Keflex now moves up into the 3rd position. Breezy Rain. How worn are these tires? Why have they not pitted yet? 69%. They're at 70% tire wear right now. Why has Breezy Rain elected not to pit? That is the question on everybody's minds right now. Car Matthews moves up into 4th. Dex Twilight moves up into 5th off the back of pit stops now. And Maze will be up into the 6th position as well. But Violet is your leader. Breezy, Rain 2nd, but Rain is going to continue to hemorrhage time right now. And then Violet also is going to have to deal with lap traffic. That is Master Drift a little bit up the road there. How much longer is Indiel Violet, who started on the front row but spun out, had an incident, and that was that our lap car now of Master Drift who had that spin? It looks like he has spun coming out of the S's. No damage to the car as far as we can tell, but he will be the first driver to go a lap down after spinning coming out of the S's. Awful time, and Breezy Rain finally pits out of the 2nd position. Keflex runs in 3rd, but has just about been caught by No, that's not Car Matthew. That was somebody else. That may have been Master Drift. That's Car Matthews running just ahead of Dex Twilight right now. Twilight trying to run him down. Manuel Pedro has also worked their way by Maze at the moment. But again, we think that Maze is on a harder compound tire. Looks like Manuel Pedro is on a softer compound tire. Just trying to go for sheer lap time as well right now. So this will now become a fight for what will be 5th position on track. So Indiel Violet leads. Keflex is 2nd. Matthews is 3rd. 4th is Dex Twilight running right behind him. Twilight, now with the repaired engine, is harassing that Milwaukee purple and gold Porsche through turn number 4 now. They'll come into the backstretch chicane and then this nice back straightaway, a perfect overtaking opportunity for Twilight. They'll have the draft. Matthews defends the inside. Twilight's going to look to the outside as they come down into it. The purple and gold Porsche has his car about a third of the way ahead. He'll be a little bit reserved. That lets the 75 keep it side by side into the S's. They're going to be making door-to-door contact, and the 75 goes back and forth several times, but he's through! Twilight's through! Twilight made door-to-door contact, go all sorts of sideways, but kept his foot in it and ended up ahead of Car Matthews, who, upon having door-to-door contact, Matthews jumped off the throttle to save the car. Twilight said, nah, I win, and he goes up in the 3rd, and that's going to turn into the lead because Violet and Keflex are pitting this time by. So Violet is in pit road, Keflex is in pit road, Maze has just gone ahead and hit pit road. He should have tires that could keep him out here a lot longer. He's only at 15% wear. The fuel is good. Why is he out there? And here's your reason. We have a caution. For the 2nd time tonight here at Indianapolis, we have a caution, and now it is your pole sitter, Dex Twilight, who will be leading the field under this yellow flag. So this is going to be one of those races, I guess, where we have constant yellow flags, scrambling and randomizing the grid ordering. But we're going to be back under the yellow flag here at Indianapolis. We're going to take a Twitch-mandated ad break. We'll be back shortly. Excuse me. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We're about 40% of the way through tonight's race here in the Porsche Cup for X League. We are under our second yellow flag, and under the yellow flag, NDL Violet, Manuel Pedro, Les Aguirre, and Keflex all elected to jump into pit lane. So this now puts Twilight first, Car Matthews second, Breezy Rain third, Wicked Ant fourth, Tempered Ship fifth, RX In Dog sixth, Savage in seventh, Maze is going to be eighth, and Violet will be the first of all those drivers to pit. They will be in ninth position. This has definitely upended the order of the grid all over again today. And again, tire strategy has been kind of all over the place as well. The field is still very spread out, so it's likely we're not going to be going green this time by. I think we won't go green until we are coming to lap 23. More than anything else, this will be decent news for Master Drift here, who may have been involved in the yellow flag. We could not tell what warranted the yellow this time either, sadly. But Master Drift, while it'll still be a lap down, will now be at the rear of the grid. And now our leaders are pitting. Twilight pits, Car Matthews pits, Wicked Ant pits. So Breezy Rain will now go into the lead of this race. And mind you, Breezy Rain had pitted one lap before the yellow came out, so they still have quite a bit of life on their tires compared to the other drivers here. And now drivers like Maze, who had pitted just as the yellow came out, they're going to move even farther up the grid here. They're going to crack into fifth. Savage is going to be in fourth. RX Dog is going to be third. Tempered Ship is now going to be second. So this race continues to go through stranger and stranger twists and turns as we continue here. That is Master Drift being allowed to run by to try and get back on the lead lap here. But the field is very spread out right now. Although if you ignore Master Drift, everyone is finally close-ish to each other right now. Looks like Homeminder in that Oreo machine is going to end up just ahead of these drivers. Well, maybe not ahead of all of them. So it's going to be Breezy Rain and Tempered Ship. Two veterans of X League will be in first and second position. Then Savage, another X League veteran, will be in fourth. Maze, who is not only a veteran, but has a big hand in helping to balance the cars for the GT3 Pro Cup Series. He will be restarting fifth, and Violet is suddenly going to be up here in the sixth position. Real quick, let's look at the tire wear of our drivers here. 11% wear for Breezy Rain. For Tempered Ship, who's going to be restarting second, they are at 16% wear. For RX Dog, who is third, 19% wear. For Savage, who is going to be in fourth, 16% wear, but he has engine damage. That's not going to help him. And then Maze in fifth, 8% on the tires. And then I look at Violet, who is pitting again. So no yellow flags, and Violet's pitting again. They want to have the advantage of fresher rubber. So Violet, Aguirre, and Keflex all pit again this time by. And our yellow flag is extended another lap. So this will now be a 4-lap period under the yellow. Well, the thing is, now we are going to be, when we go green, it's going to be lap 24. We're going to have about 21 laps to the end. You do the math. If the medium tires can go 10 laps, if you can stretch the mediums to 10 laps once and then 11 laps another time afterwards, you're fine. You can go to the end on just one more stop, medium. But that's if we say yellow free to the end. I'm going to be honest with the way that the GT3 Pro race went here last season and the way this race is going, I have a feeling we may still have another yellow flag in the cards. But if we don't, these drivers, Violet, Keflex, and Aguirre, if they threw on medium tires, they can one-stop it to the end. They have to be cautious on their tire wear, but they could one-stop this race to the end. So maybe we'll finally go green this time by. It's been a very curious race as we have now eclipsed the halfway distance in tonight's affair. Master Drift still has not caught the rear of the grid, although he is closing the gap down with speed. I don't think he'll be at the rear of the grid by the time they get to the line this time. I do nothing against Master Drift, but I kind of hope we go green this time by, even if Master Drift's not going to be there. So it is Breezy Rain, Tempered Ship, RX and Dog, Savage, and Maze. They will be your top 5. Manuel Pedro is back up in the 6th, but he has had 2 self-inflicted spins thus far today. So while he has shown speed over a lap, he has not shown the ability to keep the car under him over the course of the run. Will we go green this time by? Because if we are not going green, you might as well, if you're one of these top few drivers, pit now to be in an even better position. Well, pace car is pulled off. Tempered Ship lighting up the tires in the chicane. We are going to go green this time by. It will be Breezy Rain, Tempered Ship, RX, and N-Dog coming to the green flag here at Indianapolis for our 2nd restart of the night. And remember, RX Dog in 3rd, we think they may have a bit of engine damage, same with Savage. As we come down, green flag, there is drivers out of line farther back there, but we are underway here at Indy, and Tempered Ship did not have anywhere close to a good jump. Breezy Rain is going to clear him by about 2 car lengths by the time they come down into the braking zone. Contact, and was that may have been, that is a black Porsche. The 99 black Porsche of Wicked Ant that gets sent all sorts of sideways there. And I think he may have gotten into it with Maze. Yes, it was Maze he got into it with, and Maze now plummets down into 7th spot. So Manuel Pedro suddenly up in the 5th position. But no change in the top 4 spots on track right now. It is Breezy, Ship, RX, and Savage. Tempered Ship pulls up behind, and RX is there as well, but neither of them are able to pull alongside Breezy Rain. Now they go through the S's here. Rapid fire, right, left. And then this short-ish, it's not really a straight, but you're on the throttle all the way through here. You come through Speedway Turn 2, down through the short chute, then hard on the braking. It is a downhill run into the final chicane. So 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, basically the entire top 6 all right here. Pedro has cut his way up into the 4th position. Pedro is making moves. He's not the other one. Twilight trying to wrap it around the outside. Now there's the crossover on Savage. Twilight and Savage will be side by side for 5th position as they go down the start-finish straightaway. But look at the fight for a lead. Breezy leads. Tempered is pushing him down the front straightaway. Does he pull out the braking zone into turn 1? No, he does not. If anything, Tempered Ship breaks early and gets hit from behind by RX Dog in the process. No change in the top 3. Twilight clears the move on Savage. Carr Matthews up to 7. Maze, after the incident that happened to him earlier, has now fallen back down to the 10th position here, but he is still ahead of Keflex, apparently. But it is Rain, Ship, Pedro, and then RX Dog. Those are your top 4. Ship is right there on Breezy Rain, but not going to make a move this time. But look at this mighty fight between the 75 and the duo of Pedro and RX. All 3 of these drivers on wildly different strategies, wildly different tire options. But for now, Pedro is going to keep Twilight behind. Breezy Rain starting to open the gap on Tempered Ship a little bit at the head of the field now. Through the final chicane once more. That 91 runs just a bit wide. 75 pulls up behind. And Pedro's just about to catch Tempered Ship here. I think that Breezy Rain and Tempered Ship are a little bit slower than they realize, and I think the fact that they're on worn tires is not helping them. So we are about to have what could be a 4-car fight for a lead here at Indianapolis, but it is still Breezy Rain being pushed by Tempered Ship. Then Twilight Rain just behind Pedro here. There we are, top 4, no Satel to turns 2 and turn 3. And now to turn 4, are we gonna see a pullout here? Pedro looks to the inside of Tempered Ship, but couldn't make it stick. Still no Satel as they go through the backstretch chicane this time by. We ride on board with Twilight, the 4th in this 4-car train as they go down the long back straightaway this time by. Pedro looking to the inside, Tempered Ship for 2nd position. Twilight goes in deep, gets into Pedro's behind. That pushes Pedro into Tempered Chip, and he uses that to wrap himself around as just before they get into the S's. Pedro now up in the second, but Tempered Chip is still keeping Dex Twilight behind him. But that green and black 91 is sideways. Here comes Twilight. He clears Tempered Chip out of the S's. And now Manuel Pedro comes around the inside, and just before they get to the Fauci King, Pedro goes to the lead over Breezy Rain now. Now it is Twilight's turn to try and make something happen to the number 4 of Breezy Rain. Down to the final quarter once again. There's about 19 laps to go when the leaders hit the line this time by. And we have lost Dex Twilight. One of our top 4 drivers, Dex Twilight, has suddenly lagged out of the event right in the middle of fighting in the lead here. Our pole setter, one of the fastest drivers here, out of it. And suddenly, Manuel Pedro, who has gone for 2 spins today, inherits the lead and is going to be completely unassaulted here at the front. He is in a perfect position to just walk off into the distance. Breezy Rain holds still in second. Tempered Chip holding station in third. Fourth place is NDL Violet right now. Carr Matthews runs in fifth spot. RX Dog has lost touch with the top 5 and 6. He is under threat now from Maze at the moment. Looking here, this is Rain, Tempered Chip, and NDL Violet. These 3 all on top of each other for second position as Pedro is trying to scoot off into the distance now. Looks like our tickers have actually fixed themselves after Twilight lagged out. Sad to see that be the case, but that seems to be what has happened. So our top 4 all within 2 seconds, but of note, second, third, and fourth all within about half a second of each other. Manuel Pedro is paying. Breezy Rain is paying out second. Cars Matthew paying out fifth position. Do we have another caution? We do. Pace car is rolling. We have another caution, and Tempered Chip in that black and green number 91 is going to go into the lead here as we go back under the yellow flag once again. But I look at Tempered Chip's tire wear. He has 36% on the tires. He'll have to pit under this session. But suddenly, NDL Violet is going to be second. And through it all, RX and N-Dog, who did nothing but just lose time in that run, is suddenly back in the podium positions. Pedro pitted, Breezy Rain pitted, Cars Matthew pitted, Savage pitted, Wicked Ant pitted, Les Aguera pitted, Master Drift pitted. So about half the field elected to pit this time by under our third yellow flag of the night. So we're going to go ahead and take a Twitch-mandated ad break. And when we come back, we'll see if anyone else elects to pit under this yellow flag period. We'll be back momentarily here at the Indianapolis Road Course. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Indianapolis Motor Speedway. While you were away, Tempered Chip pitted out of the lead, was joined by Maze. So Chip falls to 10th, Maze goes to 11th. This puts NDL Violet in first, and RX N-Dog now up into second. He has not made a single overtake in the last 10 laps, on track on merit. But just by virtue of staying out, he has moved himself up into the second position, but he does have 42% wear on his tires. It was not looking great for him. For Violet, who has now become your new race leader, they have 34% wear on their tires. Third place, Keflex, who had pitted about the same time as Violet, 37% wear on their tires. Fourth place is Homemender. Remember, he was at the verge of going a lap down earlier. He has 8% engine damage, but he has 33% on his tires. He is running fourth right now. And Manuel Pedro, who was leading just as the yellow flag came out, he has now filtered up into the fifth position. He only has 5% wear on those tires because these laps have been slow under yellow flag conditions. We are still waiting for other drivers to come to the rear of the grid. And that is Violet, RX Dog, Keflex, and Homemender all pitting now. So suddenly, Manuel Pedro, who had pitted just as the yellow flag came out, all the numbers work out, and suddenly Pedro goes back into the lead here. And he is going to be not the only driver taking advantage of this long sequence of green flag cycles filtering out, because Breezy Rain is now going to be second position on track, and Carr Matthews will be third. Savage will be fourth. Wicked Ant will be fifth. Tempered Ship will be sixth. Interestingly enough, Mays elected to pit again under this, so Mays really going hard on strategy and is not really pushing any kind of track position advantage whatsoever. He's still going to be out of the top 10. So we should be going green this time by. The entire field will be all gathered up. Manuel Pedro will be leading, Breezy Rain second, Carr Matthews third, Savage fourth, Wicked Ant fifth. We'll be going green with what we believe will be 15 laps to go. On that, you can make it easily to the end. On one stop, just throw on the soft tires, pit, then throw on the soft tires again. I think for all intents and purposes, strategy is dead now, because the medium tires are not going to last 15 laps. The hards would last 15 laps, but you would be so slow and so far off pace, you wouldn't actually be getting any advantage out of it. And if we get another yellow flag, well, the answer is simple. With how long the yellow flags are in X League, if the yellow flag comes early, throw on the mediums, be good to the end. If the yellow flag comes with like 10 laps or less to go, throw on the soft tires, go to the end. If the yellow flag comes out in the last 4 laps, just don't pit and focus on having track position. I think the strategies have now all been pretty much flattened out. If we go green to the end, everyone should be on soft tires. Everyone will probably pit with about 7 laps to go. Throw on a new set of softs and be good. If we have another yellow flag, if it comes right away, throw on the mediums. If we do not have... Why are we under the yellow for another lap here? The entire field's gathered up. Alright, I guess we're going to waste another lap here under yellow. No one elected to pit this time by. So we'll be going green with 14 laps to go. So now we're squeaking into the position. Do you consider throwing on the medium tires, pit with the safety car, come into pit road with the safety car, throw on the medium compound tires, and hope that everyone else just goes sucko mode at the front of the field, lose so much time fighting with each other, you just pick them all off as they make their pit stops and just hold them off to the end. It would be a bold strategy, but that may be something to try if you think you can make the mediums last for what would be about 13 laps, 12 to 13 laps. But again, you would have to be pitting as the safety car comes in the pit road as well. Alright, so through the S's, thing is for Manuel Pedro, it's going to be a little bit frustrating for him because he's going to be a sitting duck right now. Everyone is pitted, but he was the first of everyone to pit. He'll be on slightly more warm tires than everybody else, but he will have clean air, so he's going to have to hope that he can peel away from Breezy Rain and Carr Matthews right away and then open up a gap. But Manuel Pedro, who has had 2 self-inflicted spins already today, suddenly leading, and depending on how this race plays out, he could win this. But honestly, I think anyone from 1st to 13th has a shot at winning this. Pace car finally pulls out. We'll be going green with 14 laps to go here at Indianapolis. Everyone can make it to the end on one more stop. The question is, when do you make that stop? Green flag will be in the air this time by. Can Pedro get the jump? We're about to find out as we are underway once again here at Indianapolis. Pedro really backed the field up. The thing is, Breezy Rain was prepared for that, and so was Cars Matthew. Matthew already pulling up side by side with Breezy Rain. Now falls back in line behind Breezy as they come down, but Savage and Wicked Ant are side by side farther back. A little bit of contact there. That is Wicked Ant trying to make his way through, and he does! Wicked Ant, who went for a spin on the last restart, moves up into 4th on this restart. But no change in the top 3 this time by. Ant misses the corner in turn 4, though, and runs off circuit, falls out of the top 5. Savage now moves up into 4th. Tempered Chip is back in the 5th position now. And the top 3 have now broken away from the field just a little bit. It is Pedro, Breezy, Matthews, 1, 2, 3 at the head of the field. Out of the end of the back straightaway and now into the S's once again. Breezy Rain staying close enough to Pedro to make Pedro have to look in his rearview mirror. But over the course of the day, I think Breezy Rain has been slower on the lap time, but Pedro has been a little bit more inconsistent. Matthews is not really showing the ability to keep up with these two right now. He's just kind of barely holding on by the skin of his teeth, and it is a knife fight here for 4th, 5th, and 6th as Savage, Tempered Chip, Indiana Violet all on top of each other. Savage has the position. Tempered Chip wants it. Chip looks to the outside as it goes to the second to last corner. Now coming down into the final corner, it is still nose to tail for 4th, 5th, and 6th. And Lezagera in 7th position is closing in. He might be able to catch the draft. The top 3 are all spraying out a bit. Manuel Pedro is starting to peel away from Breezy Rain. The fight is for 4th. Savage on the outside. Tempered Chip on the inside as they go down the front straightaway. Heavy into the braking zone this time by. How deep does Tempered Chip go? Deep enough. He'll clear the number 4, and now that will be Savage falling into the 5th position. Violet goes around the outside to turn 3. Will still be on the outside in turn 4. Finally backs out of it in the apex of turn 4, trying to get the crossover on Savage. Side by side between Savage and Violet, but again Violet has to back out of it through the chicane before the back straightaway. Now down the back straightaway, they're side by side again. Savage outside, Violet inside. Violet should have a pretty easy shot at overtaking him here in this braking zone. Savage keeps Violet pinched down, though. The move is not complete. They'll be side by side going into the S's. The last part of the circuit you want to be side by side at. They keep from making any contact with each other, and they'll keep it clean. But Savage has a bit of a wheel spin moment, a big twitch to the car. Violet had no such issue, kept the car nice and smooth through the S's, moved Violet up into the 5th position now. Manuel Pedro leads by about 9/10. Matthews and Breezy Rain are in a hard-fought battle for 2nd position. Matthews finally gets by Breezy Rain coming into the final chicane, but Breezy Rain's trying to do the crossover coming out of the final corner. Not fast enough to get the crossover, but Breezy Rain's going to have the draft on Car Matthew down the front straightaway. Down the front straightaway now with 12 laps to go. Matthews defends the inside line. Breezy Rain is just going to follow, content to stay in the draft. Now Breezy pops to the outside, going into turn number 1. Matthews goes deep. Breezy is going to try the crossover on exit. He didn't get the power down very well through turn number 2. They'll be back on the outside coming out of turn number 3. Down into turn number 4. The number 4 Porsche has to back out of it. The 67 purple and gold Porsche of Car Matthews holds on to 2nd for a bit longer, but Breezy Rain still has the draft as they go down the back straightaway now. As they are fighting, Manuel Pedro has now pulled his lead to 1.5 seconds over this fight for 2nd position. Down the back straightaway, Car Matthews, Breezy Rain, no move from Breezy this time. He's content to stay just behind the 67 for right now. Tempered Chip has stabilized in 4th position. Indiel Bod stabilizes in 5th. Big touch there between Rain and Matthews coming out of the S's. But nothing to really upset either of them too much, it seems. They're continuing to slowly lose time to Manuel Pedro. Matthews spending more time trying to run defense against Breezy Rain, and that is letting Pedro scoot off into the distance. The sun is starting to set here at Indianapolis. The track temps are going to start getting cooler here. As they go, we watch our 2nd and 3rd place cars go into the final corner once again. It will be 11 laps to go as the leader takes a car across the line this time by. His gap over 2nd place is now 1.7 seconds. Breezy Rain has the draft on Cars Matthew again as they go down the front straightaway. Again, Car Matthew defends the inside line. Not as aggressive. Breezy Rain commits to the outside a lot earlier than he did last time. jumps onto the brakes early, trying to crossover. Cars Matthews sliding the rear tires on throttle application out of turn number 1. Breezy Rain is still right behind the 67, but can't figure out a way to get alongside. Breezy goes a little bit too deep into turn number 4, washes wide on the exit of 4. Still close enough to have the draft on Matthews as they go through the backstretch chicane. Now down the back straightaway. Car Matthew holding on in second position. Breezy Rain in third, but Breezy has to figure out a way to get alongside Car Matthews before he can even try and pass him. He's trying to go the outside line into the corner at the end of the back straightaway. Touch the tire on the outside dirt, could not keep traction, stays in line behind Matthews. Matthews sideways there through the S's. I think Matthews is starting to burn up the rear tires on that car, and Breezy is really eating them up for it. This is the time now. Breezy Rain looks to the inside cars Matthews as they go through Speedway turn number 2. Through the short chute, both cars sliding the rear tires out as they're side by side, coming in the final chicane once again. It will be 10 laps to go when they hit the line this time by. Breezy Rain completes the overtake on Car Matthew, move Breezy Rain into second position. And while all that has happened, Indiel Violet has made some noise. Now the noise is right in Car Matthew's ear. Violet is right behind Car Matthew for third position. Breezy Rain has moved up into second. Manuel Pedro now leads by 2.5 seconds over second position though. Manuel Pedro is in position to just sunset into the victory here if we stay green to the end. Second, third, fourth, all still in perfect nose-to-tail formation through turn number 1. Now through turn number 2, and still perfect nose-to-tail. Violet breaks it. He looks to the outside, then swaps the lines, then goes back in line behind Car Matthew. Second, third, fourth, all nose-to-tail again as they come out of turn number 4. Through the backstretch chicane. Matthews has the draft on Rain. Violet has the draft on both of them. Violet, does he push the move here? Does he try to make the move before they get into the S's? At the end of the infield back straightaway, no chance for Violet to make a move. There was just no good piece of track that he felt happy using. Breezy Rain holding on to second position, but he's a little bit sideways in the S's. So is Cars Matthew. Violet is by far the fastest of our top 5 drivers right now, but he is being massively held up by our second and third place drivers now. Now through Speedway turn 2, Violet is doing to Cars what Breezy did to Matthews last time by. Side by side between the two of them, Violet uses it to try and get alongside Breezy Rain. Couldn't make it stick. He'll go deep into the second to last corner, trying to wrap it around the outside. There's not enough grip out there, though. Has to fall back in line behind Breezy Rain. Car Matthews now falls to 4th position. Indiel Violet is going to be the driver behind Breezy Rain. As the leader crosses the line this time, he now leads by 2 3/4 of a second over this fight for second position. It is Breezy Rain who has second. Indiel Violet wants it. Violet looks to the inside. Breezy Rain holding the normal outside line. They both go deep into turn number 1. Violet may have gone a little too deep. He might have cut the corner, but he is by. And Breezy Rain backed way out of it to avoid contact, and Cars Matthews followed through. So now Breezy Rain falls back out of the podium positions as Cars Matthews follows Violet through to get back into the third spot on the racetrack. The gap between first and second is 2 3/4 of a second right now. Tempered Chip hangs out in 5th position, but he is in no man's land right now. He's not fast enough to catch the drivers up front. Or is he? He's caught Breezy Rain. Tempered Chip on Breezy Rain for a 4th position, going down the back straightaway. Get into the braking zone. No big attempts this time by. 33% wear on the tires for Breezy Rain. I look at Tempered Chip, who is right behind him. His tires are at 31%. The question, though, is going to be who is going to go ahead and make the first round of stops. The first driver make the last round of stops. 34% wear on the tires right now for Manuel Pedro. He can stay out here for a little longer if he so chooses. Tempered Chip gets by Breezy Rain, going around the outside here. That's Maze who's now into the fray. Maze has caught both Breezy Rain and Tempered Chip. He clears them both in the short chute between Speedway Turn 2 and the final chicane. Tempered Chip tries to get back by him, going into the final quarter, can't make it stick. Maze is now up into the 4th position, but he is 5 seconds out of the lead right now. I think Maze may be on track for a podium potentially, but I think a race win is out of the question. Violet has taken away 0.4 of a second out of the lead of Manuel Pedro that last lap alone. Violet is absolutely the fastest driver on track right now. Real quickly, let's look at the tire life of Violet versus Pedro. Violet, 31.1%, his most worn tire. Manuel Pedro, who is leading right now, 37.2%, his most worn tire. Both of them still have some life in the softs, but they're both going to have to pit to throw on new softs, probably in another lap or two. The question is going to be, who is going to pit first? And then, if it's Pedro who pits first, does Violet immediately follow him in, or does Violet stay out for another lap? With how few laps are left, when these drivers pit to throw out another set of softs, they should not have to worry about tire fall off to the end. Big slide by Pedro as they came out of the S's. Violet now takes another 2 tenths out, maybe another 3 tenths, maybe another 4 tenths. Violet is now 2.1 seconds out from Pedro as they come out of Speedway turn number 2. They have absolutely left Cars Matthew in the dust. Matthews hangs out in 3rd position right now. His tires are at 37% wear. He has plenty of life in the tires, but right now, it's not really benefiting anyone to have a lot of life in the tires because everyone on track is going to make one more stop anyway. It's all just going to come down to how effectively can he make overtake. Wicked Ant makes a pit stop back there in 11. It looks like he is going to be the first driver to make the last pit stop. And now Wicked Ant was about 5 seconds behind Keflex in 10th position. So I don't think that Keflex is really under threat from Wicked Ant overcutting him. I don't think Wicked Ant pinning now is going to cause a flurry of drivers to rush into the pit lane. I think what will cause that, though, will be the fact that as the leader comes down to take the start-finish line, there will only be 6 laps to go when he hits the line. You might as well throw on the soft tires. 6 laps is plenty of time on the soft tires, and you can make it a nice and small fuel load as well. Indio Violet, as they come onto the back straightaway, is only about 1.9 seconds out from Manuel Pedro right now. The gap continues to close, but Violet needs Pedro to keep just being a little slow, keep having these little hiccups in order to catch them. But then, once Violet catches Pedro, that's one thing. He has to be able to overtake Pedro as well. Pedro has felt that he has been deprived of wins in the GT3 Pro Series due to various circumstances. Violet feels that he should be winning almost all the time right now in both Porsche Cup and GT3 Pro. Both these drivers have big egos on the line, and this is their chance to back it up. But Violet needs to run down Pedro. Pedro needs to keep this gap open. They come down. No one in our top 5 is going to pit this lap by, and we are now coming across the start-finish line. It is 6 laps to go. We know that everyone on track is going to be dealing with some absolutely outrageous tire fall-off. Manuel Pedro, 44.5% on the tire life right now. Indio Violet in 2nd position, 38.6%. Maybe if I've read the tires wrong and these drivers are on the mediums instead of the softs, Pedro is cooked. But Violet is going to be cooked. I would argue everyone would be cooked in that position. This is Mays, who is in 4th position now. He is at 39% tire wear. I look at Car Matthew, who is in 3rd position right now. He is at 43% tire wear. So Matthew and Pedro will both have to pit sooner rather than later. Does Violet have enough of a gap that when his tires fall off, he won't have to worry too much about it? I see no way that Pedro and Matthews can stay out on track to the end of this race. It has turned into a tire management battle to the end here. Tempered Chip has reeled Mays back in for the 4th position right now. There's also a bit of a fight going on farther back here. This is RX Indog, Savage, Lezagera, and Keflex for 7th through 10th, all on top of each other. These drivers have been losing touch with the top 6 gradually as this has gone on. Shockingly, I don't think anyone is going to go ahead and throw on another set of soft tires. I guess everyone put on mediums under this last yellow flag, and everyone's just going to try and limp their tires to the checkered flag here. Violet's taken another big chunk out of Pedro's lead. The gap from 1st to 2nd is now down to 1.5 seconds at the moment. If Violet can just close in by about 1/3 of a second for each of the remaining 5 laps, he will have Pedro at the end. But now, as the leaders have crossed the line, we have 5 laps to go. I think it is time we go ahead and look at the time penalties. What do the time penalties tell us about today's race? Manuel Pedro, 0.8 of a second time penalty. Violet, no time penalties. Cars Matthew, 1.3. Mays, 0.7. Tempered Chip, 1.2 seconds. Breezy Rain, 1.3. Those are your top 6 drivers on track right now. Only one of them, Violet, the fastest of them all, has no time penalties right now. Continuing to watch this battle here between Dog, Agera, and Savage. Keflex has pitted this time by, so Keflex pits with 5 laps to go here, possibly betting on late race yellow or something else going on, but they have lost a massive amount of time. That will drop them out of the top 10 positions. Violet now 1.4 seconds out from Manuel Pedro. Pedro has had 2 self-inflicted spins over the course of the race. That left front tire is now at 52% wear as they come through the final chicane. It will be 4 laps to go as they come across the line. Car Matthews is now pitted out of 3rd position. The first driver in the head of the field blinks. It is Car Matthews. He's only at 8% fuel. He was going to run out of fuel. Matthews has to pit not because of tires, but because of fuel. Suddenly, the 3rd spot on the podium goes to Mays. Mays all of a sudden is in 3rd, but it's not a done deal yet because he still has Temper Chip behind him in 4th, and Breezy Rain is about another second behind in 5th. Mays has to be careful if he wants to bring home this podium position here. The fight may be for the podium right now. Tempership looks to the outside, coming in turn number 1, not willing to commit to it though. This duo stays nose to tail. Maze ahead of Tempership through turns 2, through turns 3. Going into turn number 4, there's still nose to tail. Tempership looks or fakes a look to the inside. Maze does not even try to defend. He knows he has the normal ideal line through there. Nice smooth round there coming out of the final chicane. Now going down the back straightaway in this fight for what has now become 3rd position. After making his pit stop, Carl Matthews ended up in 10th position, ahead of Wicked Ant, behind Keflex. Manuel Pedro leads. Indiel Violet is 2nd. Maze is in 3rd right now. Violet has now closed the gap on Pedro down to just 1 second. When the leaders come to the line this time by, it will be 3 laps to go. Going into the final chicane once again is 1.1 seconds according to our ticker. Now it drops down to 1 second exactly. 0.983 seconds, 0.849 seconds, 0.765 seconds, 0.747! Violet is making like a 747 and running down Manuel Pedro as they come across the start finish line. It is less than 2/3 of the second gap between Pedro and Violet. Coming down into turn number 1, that is lap traffic ahead in the form of Master Drift. He will be a factor in this fight to the end. Violet still has tires that are fresher than Pedro's here, but that's not saying a lot. He's got 51% on those tires right now, but Pedro, that most worn left front tire is at 58% right now. Pedro has 15% in the fuel tank. I look at Violet. How much does Violet have in the fuel tank? 6.8%. There is a possibility that Violet might not have the fuel to go to the end, but we're not sure. It's going to be more interesting, though, if Violet can even get by Pedro before they get to the S's. He pulls up behind Pedro in the brakings at the end of the back straightaway. Does not go side by side with him, though. And Pedro and Violet are both going to be held up by lap traffic in the form of Master Drift here. Through the S's, but no attempt by Violet to overtake Pedro yet. Now here they come. It looks like Pedro is going to go the long way around traffic. He is now going to try and get by traffic, and in the process, he throws a block on Violet. Violet gets turned and saves it! Violet with the save of the season with a big slide and the short chute. That car was 90 degrees sideways. He saved it and was pointed the right way. He is right on Manuel Pedro's rear wing. Coming down to the start finish line. 2 laps to go for a victory here in Indianapolis. Master Drift goes off circuit farther back there. He will not be a factor. Side by side with 2 laps to go. Pedro versus Violet. Violet on the outside. Pedro on the inside. Neck and neck. It is a drag race and the heaviest breakings on the circuit. Who goes deeper? And they're both going to go about the same distance. Pedro has the inside line. He puts himself back ahead of Violet through turn number 2. Now Violet through turn number 3 looks back to the inside, muscles his way to the inside, hits the dirt and goes wide. Violet wide as they come in at turn number 4. Now through turn number 4, that burnt out tire for Pedro kills him. Side by side as they go through the back strict chicane. They're still side by side as they go down the back straightaway now. Pedro on the inside, Violet on the outside. Neck and neck, side by side for the win here. They go down into the braking zone. Violet goes nice and deep. He completes the overtake now, just as they get to the S's. Violet into the lead with a lap and a half left here. Violet started this race on the front row, but had an incident that brought out the first yellow flag of the day. He has been up and down over the course of the entire race. But now, with just a little bit more than a lap left here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway Grand Prix circuit, Violet is on course to put himself in the winner's column. But he has to be careful. He has to watch that tire to the end. He is at 57.9%, and he only has 2.8%, 2.7% left in the fuel tank. Will Violet have the fuel to make it the rest of the way around? That may be the big question to the end here. 58% wear on the tires, 2.3% in the fuel tank. I think Violet can make it around. It will be tight, but I think he will be able to make it around. In 3rd position, Maze has pulled a bit of a gap on Tempership. It looks like it's going to be Violet, Pedro, Maze for the top 3 positions. Tempership looks like they're going to be 4th, Breezy Rain in 5th, unless we have to factor in the penalties. When it comes down to penalties, Violet still with no time penalties. Manuel Pedro does not earn any more time penalties. Neither has Maze. Tempership 1.2 seconds, Breezy Rain in 5th, 1.9 seconds. So no likelihood of a change in the top 5 at least. RX Indog may be just close enough to Breezy Rain to nip Breezy Rain off the back of time penalties at the end here. Might actually be able to nip Tempership as well. Is that Maze? Maze is just pulled over. Maze is slow. Is Maze out of fuel? Maze is out of fuel! Maze has run out of fuel! Maze out of fuel in the back straightaway! A guaranteed podium for Maze is gone! He is out of fuel! Now our focus Savage goes down to 6th. Keflex in 7th. Breezy Rain 8th. Cars Matthew 9th. Maze is trying to limp this car around circuit right now to try and get home 10th. And Wicked Ant is going to come on 11th. It looks like Wicked Ant is going to push Maze around, so Maze will be classified as with a 10th place result. Well, Maze has continued his trend of leading at least one lap in every X League event he has attempted thus far, but by far this has been Maze's worst finish in one of the X League events thus far this season. But your winner is NDL Violet. We're going to take a Twitch mandated ad break, and when we come back, we'll try to talk with some of our top finishers here at Indianapolis. Violet, are you able to hear me?
Yup.
Alright, are you able to include your audio?
Apparently. According to my end, yes.
Alright, awesome. RXN Dog, can you hear me? Can you include your audio in the Xbox party?
Yep.
Alright. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Our race for the Porsche Cup is over. A wild and wacky race with a final overtake happening with less than 2 laps to go. And it is NDL Violet who started second, had a spin early, and then takes home the victory. Violet, spin and win. How in the devil did you make that work?
Well, for starters, I'm going to take that as an insult. I did not get spun, or I did not spin. I was, like, passing Mateus, or whatever, and his internet, like, is awful, being Brazil. On my screen, he didn't break, and, high-speed front-to-rear contact at turn 1. Not fun. I was a DFL. And then, kind of just bided my time, I guess. Like, chucked on the mediums for multiple stints in a row, just kind of waiting, like, trying to get track position back. And then, yeah, that second last safety car, it was looking like it was going to be a soft, and I would have really enjoyed that. Because that would have been really good for my strat. And then, it ended up being another safety car, so it was just chuck on mediums and push him to the end, and Manu put his on earlier, so I got to pass him.
Was there any concern in the fuel tank to the end? Because I was watching, you were down at 0% when you crossed the start-finish line there.
Yeah, I mean, on my screen I was showing, like, yeah, it would have been like 0.8 or something. I checked it on the second last straight because I knew I was low, but I'd done a little bit of testing in the practice and realised that this car at this track is kind of bugged and you need to overfuel. So I'm glad I did. I think Manuel was doing a bit of both on fuel saving and tyre saving, but he'd already put his tyres on too early, so.
Well, yeah, you did give us a fantastic show to the end. Will you be with us for the GT3 Pro race tomorrow? And if you are, do you think there's anything you've learned today that you can apply tomorrow?
The mediums are really strong, and there's not many places to pass, but I'm quite confident, given that I made some fantastic moves in that race. Like the right-hander, like in the start of the final sector, I got a nice ass move on tempered, and then lost it again, but we don't talk about that. And then yeah, a couple other good fights with Breezy. I had a good fight with Rundog and Keflex a little bit, and I can't remember who else. I didn't really fight Twilight before he died.
By the way, Violet, that was a fantastic event. If anything, I feel like you're less Violet today and more ultraviolet with that kind of recovery drive you put together. Anything else you want to say before we go ahead and let you go for the night?
That was one of the best drives I've done in a while, so I'm happy with it. Good race.
All right, that's the word from our race winner, Violet. And now I want to talk with the driver who made up more positions than anyone else, up 7 spots from where they started. It is RX and N-Dog. Real quickly, how am I supposed to say your name? Is it RX Dog, Run Dog,
I mean,
R-Dog?
X is just for the O. Oh yeah, Run Dog.
All right, well, Run Dog, you definitely ran like a dog today. Where in the world did you pull all that out of? I mean, I was looking at you with like a lap to go. I think you were like 6th or something, and you somehow finished on the podium.
Yeah, I mean, it's all in the strat, you know. Nailed the strat. Got a good drive on the last stint. Made up some positions. Got a bit lucky.
I feel like lucky is a bit of an understatement there. Again, 7 spots up. In a field that had 14 cars, you basically moved up half of the grid worth of positions. Like, I can't express enough. That is really impressive. Normally in the Porsche Cup races, drivers finish usually around where they qualify, mainly just because the gaps in the field are so massive. You've really kind of turned normal fate and stuff on its head today.
Yeah, I mean, I just tried to keep it consistent, keep it safe. And I didn't put much of a good qualifying lap in, so, you know. Was expected.
All right. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ron. This is your first event in X League, right?
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Will we see you in more X League events going forward? Because I'd love to see you try and replicate this again in the future.
Probably, yeah.
All right. Anything else you want to say at all before we go ahead and let you go for the night?
Violet's the goat.
Hell yeah.
All right. I know you said Violet's the GOAT, but to me it sounded like you said Violet has guts, so I think that works just as well on my, in my end. Well, with that in mind, that'll pretty much wrap up our broadcast here from Indianapolis Motor Speedway's road course circuit. But don't you worry, tomorrow night we will be back with X League as they'll come down for the GT3 Cup race, the GT3 Pro Cup race. So I highly encourage you to join us there. And then if you want even more Indianapolis action, on Sunday night, it will be FEC's Indy 250 around the oval with the Indy cars proper. So we're going to be here in the state of Indiana for the entire weekend here on this channel. Everyone, thank you for joining us tonight. I look forward to seeing you all either tomorrow night, Sunday night, or next weekend for the next X League Porsche Cup event. I've been your host for today's broadcast, Insane Leader 13. Thank you everyone for joining us. Farewell and goodbye, everyone.